From your local news leader, this is KTTC News.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for waking up early with KTTC News today. We appreciate you hanging out with us. I'm Kelsey Marrier.
And I'm Jess Abrahamson. Good morning. It's a little wet out there this morning. Ted has been using his umbrella out on the weather patio, and that's a trend we're going to see sticking around for a few hours. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning. Yeah, definitely a wet morning out here. Big puddles forming here at the weather patio. We've had about 3/10 of an inch of rain here at the studio. At the airport officially now in Rochester. Going back to midnight, the total a third of an inch, so 33/100ths of an inch. We're going to see at least, I think, another half inch on top of that through the course of today. So the possibility of reaching an inch here in Rochester, not out of the realm of possibility. A big part of the area looking for the possibility of at least half inch to an inch of rain through the course of today. Most of that happening this morning. You can see the rain falling, the wet pavement, gray skies. That is the current picture as we look to the south along Highway 52, live from our Lewiston auto camera. Now you see the waves of rain moving through, basically solidly wet, but some enhancement of the rainfall rate. Some of the yellows and oranges suggesting some heavier rain in some of this activity. And there's a little lightning peppered on the map as well around Austin, Albert Lee, down toward Northwood, Iowa, and Lisle, and also around Emmons. But here in Rochester, so far, no thunder in our recent memory, but there may be some of that coming up here later this morning, and maybe a rumbled thunder in the early afternoon. But the rain with us right now, and it's cooling the air. We've dropped 5 degrees since the top of the program at 4:30. It's 50 right now at the studio with a chilly east breeze. It makes it feel like the mid-40s. On the map, 50 degrees down in Rochester, Albert Lee 48, Mason City 49, and it's 50 in Preston. Typical high this time of the year is 63, and because of the rain, don't look for a big range in temperatures so far ahead of us today. We'll settle for the 50s for temperatures. On the way to school, bus stop forecast 49 with rain. On the way home, spotty showers tapering off certainly around 3 or 4 o'clock. It'll be dry by the end of the afternoon. 55 on the way home from school. And if you're taking a walk with the dog, and I think you should, but you want to keep it maybe brief or have some rain gear, and definitely, I think, have a towel ready at the end of the walk. Here's Luna from Rochester, our featured dog in today's dog walking forecast. Rain for the morning and early afternoon. Later in the day, look for a high of 58. Now, if you want your dog featured in the dog walking forecast, send your picture in to pets@kttc.com and feature your dog's name and your hometown, and we'll get the picture on you and talk about how you deal with rain when you're walking your dog.
Yeah, you and I, Ted, we're both dog owners. We've both experienced our fair share of dog walks in the rain, too.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. We got to do what you got to do, though.
It's true.
Thank you. With spring, of course, comes the chance for severe weather as well, and the potential damage from that. There is research going on behind the scenes year-round to keep residents safe for when disasters like a tornado strike. The National Weather Service says as research changes, safety procedures do as well. When those sirens flare, we do know that is the signal to take shelter. Experts say guidance used to suggest that people outdoors take cover in a ditch. Now that research says getting indoors is the first priority. We're told the most deadly threat during a tornado is flying debris.
Get below ground if possible. Get to your storm shelter below ground or your basement. If you don't have a basement, ideally the next source would be to get into a small interior room on the building's lowest level.
The National Weather Service says you also may want to find the room surrounded by the most walls to protect you against that debris. Also, anyone living in a mobile home should be extra cautious, and that's not only during tornadic conditions.
Mobile homes are not safe from any type of severe weather, even just thunderstorm winds. It doesn't take a tornado to flip a mobile home. Of course, they often will, but even just regular thunderstorm winds can sometimes rival weaker tornadoes in terms of the damage that they cause.
Experts say it is critical to have a plan in place in case of any severe weather. The National Weather Service says always make sure to follow the latest on those weather conditions and to have a backup device with you, whether that be your smartphone or a radio.
The Minnesota State Patrol is investigating a deadly crash in Houston County. This happened about 8:30 last night on Highway 26 near Brownsville. That's about 15 minutes east of Caledonia. Troopers say a 23-year-old lacrosse man riding a motorcycle north in a southbound car driven by a 45-year-old woman from Waukon, Iowa, collided. A number of agencies responded to the scene. More details about this accident are expected to be released this morning, so we'll share those as soon as we learn more. To Washington now, where Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is facing ousting from members of his own party.
Yeah, other Republican lawmakers say he betrayed the principles upheld by former President Donald Trump. To talk more about this, let's bring in KTTC's Washington correspondent, Ashanti Ford. She is live in D.C. to kind of break all of this down. Good morning, Ashanti.
Good morning.
Okay, so 2 Republicans are vowing to vote him out as early as next week. What's kind of the latest on that?
You know, I want to remind folks, the last time they kicked a Speaker of the House out, we saw the start to the Israel-Hamas war. And there are several members of Congress who say this type of divisiveness amongst themselves really weakens us as a nation. But in terms of Speaker Johnson, you know, he made it pretty clear that his focus right now is addressing these campus protests. We know Representative, Taylor Greene, MTG, she's leading these efforts despite pushback from some of her Republican colleagues. But at last check, Democratic leadership said they would not sign off on any move that kicks Johnson out of his current role.
Okay, Ashanti, let's talk about another big topic across the country right now. This week, nearly 300 people have been arrested just in New York surrounding pro-Palestinian demonstrations. We're seeing this all across the country at many campuses. We have demonstrations underway at the University of Minnesota and at the UW campus in Madison. What is the latest?
You know, right now in LA, UCLA, there's about 300 police officers on campus. That's more police presence than a lot of these students have probably ever experienced. So law enforcement for UCLA was called in not to only calm down these protests, but to handle the encampment situation. And as you just said, it's not just UCLA, right? It's colleges all over the nation. And the consequences have the power to impact everyone, all students, even those not involved in the protests. We're seeing graduations canceled. More than 1,300 students so far have been arrested. There's talks of pulling funding from some of these schools. So from the outside in, it appears that campus administrators don't have the situation under control.
Yeah, students definitely making their voices heard all over the place in regards to this. Ashanti, appreciate your insight on all of these stories this morning.
Absolutely.
Staying on this topic, we do want to talk about what's going on at the University of Minnesota. It did end up closing a dozen buildings surrounding an encampment this week, meaning students couldn't access the student union or the library during the start of finals. After days of protests there, student demonstrators ended up meeting with the university's interim president to discuss their demands to support the Palestinian people.
We had a very constructive dialogue this morning. The meeting had originally been scheduled to be a half hour, and instead we went an hour and a half because we were engaged in good conversation. Both groups are going to kind of go back and talk to other folks, and there'll be more news on it later, but I don't have anything else to report at this time.
Interim President Jeff Ettinger also says all upcoming graduation activities at the U of M will continue as planned.
Today, a 3-judge panel of the Minnesota Court of Appeals will be in Rochester hearing arguments on several cases, and 3 of these are oral arguments. These hearings are part of the court's mission to travel across the state to ensure access to justice. Arguments for these cases begin at 9:30 at the Government Center, and they are open to the public to attend.
We have an update now on a wanted Fillmore County man. U.S. Marshals have taken William Guy Amick III into custody in Michigan. He was found earlier this week about 20 miles south of Ann Arbor. He faces 13 counts in Fillmore County related to child sex abuse materials involving multiple victims between the ages of newborn and 7 years old. According to the Minnesota BCA, he lived in Mabel and Rushford for about 2 years until last May. Amick is currently being held in a Michigan jail as he awaits extradition to Minnesota. Some continuing coverage now. State funding for improvements at Rochester's Silver Lake Dam is moving forward.
The Minnesota House has passed a bill that would cover roughly 1/4 of the total project cost. According to the Minnesota legislature, the 2024 legacy budget bill invests millions of dollars into projects with the state's outdoor heritage, clean water, parks and trails, and arts and culture initiatives. More than $190 million of the money goes toward the Outdoor Heritage Fund. $2.4 million of that is for Silver Lake Dam modifications. According to the city, the modification portion of the project costs about $4 million. But the total Silver Lake improvement plan is estimated to cost more than $10 million. We're told this project was proposed because the current dam has not served a purpose for the city since 2015, in that it's a safety concern for aquatic wildlife as well as people. The proposed modifications include removing the dam and installing a 750-foot channel of cascading pools. City of Rochester says by doing this, pedestrians, paddlers, and fish can better access the area. The state Senate has yet to take up that funding bill, so we'll continue to follow that. And more continuing coverage just off of Broadway Avenue in Rochester sits a block in the Lower Town neighborhood. Some call this a blight.
All of the properties on this block are owned by the same developer, and neighbors say that developer has neglected them, causing drug use and other illegal activities to run rampant there. The owner had until May 1st to provide a plan of action to demolish the homes. The city of Rochester says permits were filed in mid-April and expire after 6 months.
We understand that it involves securing a contractor, some other studies before clearing the site if they're seeking financing, and that's what's underway right now. And the owner has been in communication with us for a timely demolition.
The city also says the owner has plans to redevelop the block, but is unable to share more about that at this time. An update now from Rochester Public Schools robotics team. It ended up finishing its run at the Robotics World Tournament in the semifinals.
600 teams took part in the international competition in Texas. Rochester team members say they ranked 10th in the division, but were knocked out in the semifinals round of the group stage. One student says she is grateful to have been given this opportunity to compete at this level.
We were super happy just being able to go there. We were super excited. And even coming back from the tournament, we just felt a lot closer as a team, just being able to make it that far, like the first time in our team's history.
What a great accomplishment. We're told their team is in the top 5% of robotics teams around the world and the second highest placed team for Minnesota. So this Saturday, the group will be competing in Minnesota's state championship with 35 other teams. Ooh. We wish them the very best. Bright kids with amazing futures. It is 6:42. There are 6 new officers helping to keep Rochester residents safe.
Yeah, we're going to hear what gives these new officers hope for the future when we come back.
The city of Rochester officially has some new officers to help keep us safe.
Yeah, those officers are five men and 1 woman that were sworn into the department on Wednesday. All of them took an oath, and that was to pledge their commitment to the department and the city, of course, of Rochester. Families also had a role in the ceremony as loved ones were tasked with pinning the officers' badges. One of the new officers recently moved to Rochester and says her family played a big part in wanting to work in law enforcement.
I love that no matter who you talk to, everyone has a different story. It's a hard profession, but all of us here are going to work their hardest to, work for the community.
RPD leaders tell us it has been a difficult time across the Gopher State to hire new officers, but says extra steps over the years, like recruiting potential future officers at younger ages, have helped them maintain a steady number of new members.
These recruits tonight, though, really exemplify the best of society, coming in the door full of heart, full of drive and passion and determination. That's what gives me excitement. That's what gives me hope.
The department averages about 2 classes sworn in every year. Last fall, the department welcomed 5 new officers, and it is set to welcome a new class of recruits this July.
Here's your first alert weather with meteorologist Ted Schmidt.
Dreary and wet day ahead of us. It's raining right now, and it's going to be raining for most of the day, at least the morning and early afternoon. We're dealing with kind of a cool and damp start the day. Temperatures steady around 50 degrees, and as you move along the day, it's going to be solidly wet at least until the middle of the afternoon. Here's the current scene, the current picture from some of our Lewiston Auto live cameras across the area. So first, they see the wet pavement and the headlights, and of course the windshield wipers all in use this morning. We're going to be dealing with that kind of weather for a big part of our day. And a good day to stay inside and study some science. We did that yesterday. We went to Willow Creek Middle School in the south side of Rochester. David Birgit and I talked about meteorology, about forecasting, and David had a couple of really interesting science experiments talking about air pressure. So we had a lot of fun. So hello to the 6th grade science classes of Willow Creek Middle School. We had a great time there and a big group in the auditorium. But the day to stay inside and study science today, or have some good rain gear if you're outside, because we have a lot of wetness on the radar, a lot of green and some yellow and orange, suggesting there are some enhanced areas of heavier downpours of rain, but not severe weather. There is some lightning around the Minnesota-Iowa border and parts of North Iowa, but no severe weather likely in the situation. It's just going to be a wet day with waves of rain going on to the morning, and the back edge of this well southwest of us. That'll come through in the early afternoon. What's ahead of us today? Yeah, more of this. We've had a third of an inch since midnight in the way of rainfall in Rochester, more than half an inch in Mason City, and 21/100ths of an inch in Charles City. A wet day outside, to say the least. 50 right now in Rochester, the temperature. 48 in Dodge Center, Charles City, Iowa, 50, and essentially holding steady. We've been in this range since the onset of this main band of rain right around 4 o'clock this morning, just around the beginning of our broadcast this morning. Brisk east wind at 15 miles per hour makes it feel like the 40s. Air pressure continues to fall as the low pressure area that's generating the showers moves to the area. 49 for the morning commute, rainy and cool with that brisk breeze from the east. As we move along through the day, we'll see the rain slowly taper off in the afternoon. The winds will diminish. So the very end of the day looks actually much better than the beginning. It's still gray and cool, but drier. And then the next few days looking seasonably mild. There's a little bit of rain ahead of us early Saturday, but the majority of the weekend looks fantastic with some sun and some 60s, typical for this time of the year. But today, cooler and wetter than average. In fact, the coolest, wettest day of the week. We'll look ahead at future track computer modeling, some downpours of rain going on for the morning hours. We get closer to lunchtime. We begin to see some breaks in the showers, and by mid-afternoon, the last of the rain moves out. So about 3 or 4 o'clock, we're dry with clearing skies. After that, around midnight, some sunshine tomorrow. Beautiful Friday ahead of us. Temperatures close to 70 for highs, and more rain comes in briefly late in the overnight hours of Friday night to Saturday morning. And most of that impact in the area from maybe 6 o'clock in the morning until about 10 or 11 on Saturday morning. But beyond that, the weekend looks pretty good. Showers at first today, and then drying out during the heart of the afternoon with that diminishing breeze. Again, you see the rain here yielding as much as ½ inch to an inch of rainfall across the map, maybe a little more in a few spots. Rain briefly in the morning on Saturday. The chances of rain late Monday and Tuesday of next week. Temperatures looking very seasonable after today's 50s, mainly 60s. And low 70s in the coming days. Mostly cloudy today with a brisk east wind, 58, showers and a couple of thunderstorms during the morning and early afternoon. Tonight, clearing skies, a low of 43, and your 7-day forecast high temperatures mostly in the 60s for the next several days.
Okay, yeah, tomorrow definitely one of the days to look forward to.
Tomorrow, the pick of the litter, I would say, this week.
Definitely. Thanks, Ted. We want to give you a Throwback Thursday now, of course, because it's Thursday. We want to show you a photo. It is showing a full kitchen set up on the stage of the Chateau Theater in Rochester. This was on May 1st of 1936. I believe we have this photo. Okay, we're going to show that photo to you. It comes from the History Center of Olmsted County.
Yes, we were told stand by for that. We always appreciate them helping to dig into our local archives.
They have a lot of good stuff to share with us. Okay, so we're going to show a picture, I think, of the kitchen. Maybe not. I think we might be having some technical difficulties. So maybe we'll bring this story to you a little bit later this morning when we can get that photo up and running. It is 6:51. Ford is announcing a pickup recall related to some electrical issues.
And the Fed says interest rates will not be going down in the near future. But a reminder, this could be a good time to beef up your savings accounts. We'll be right back.
KTTC.
Some Ford pickup owners will need to take a trip back to the dealer. An electrical issue is causing the automaker to recall more than 242,000 of its Maverick pickup trucks. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the taillights on these vehicles can fail to light up, posing a potential safety hazard. The issue does not affect brake lights or turn signal functions. The recall is for Maverick pickups from 2022 to 24. More information about this is available on Ford's website. The Federal Reserve did not end up cutting interest rates at its Wednesday meeting. While that may be disappointing for some Americans, it could be a motivation to save. The Fed's unwillingness to lower rates has and will continue to put money in your pocket this year. That is, if you have a high-yield savings account. In 2023, savers with this type of account made 4 times what they earned in 2022. That's according to LendingTree. A high-yield savings account is the best place to put your money away for emergencies or for anticipated large expenses coming up in the next 3 months to a year. The average on high-yield savings accounts is well over 4%.
Job openings have fallen to the lowest level in 3 years. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows U.S. employers had about 8.5 million available jobs in the month of March. That is less than what economists had expected. Right now, there are 1.3 jobs for every job seeker, and that compares to during the pandemic recovery when the ratio was about 2 to 1. Meanwhile, the percent of people quitting their jobs is at the lowest level since August of 2020. Higher quit rates are usually a sign of worker confidence in the labor market and a potential source of inflation, since job switching typically results in bigger pay bumps. It is 6:56 on a damp Thursday morning as we take a live look at downtown Rochester. Ted says that the rain's going to be sticking around for a bit. More on that just ahead.
KTTC Traffic Cam.
This is a breaking news special report.
Yeah, we want to give you a live look here at what's happening at the UCLA campus this morning, where police are in riot gear confronting protesters. This is after demonstrators ignored an order to disperse. Officers were seen tearing down plywood blockades built by the protesters. Several of these officers were sprayed with some sort of chemical by demonstrators. Numerous flash bangs could be heard as police worked to disperse this crowd. Several protesters have been detained there by the LAPD, which issued an order for them to disperse around 6 p.m. yesterday, then issued a tactical alert a short time later. And these orders coming after a violent confrontation Tuesday night between pro-Palestinian protesters and pro-Israeli counter-demonstrators on campus. 25 people were hurt in that. This is a situation we'll continue to watch.
Definitely developing. One of our stories we want to bring you this morning is about a deadly crash in Houston County that the State Patrol is investigating. This happened around 8:30 Wednesday night on Highway 26 near Brownsville. Troopers say a 23-year-old lacrosse man riding a motorcycle going north and a southbound car driven by a 45-year-old woman from Waukon, Iowa, collided. We'll give you more details about this crash when they're released later this morning.
And a 3-judge panel of the Minnesota Court of Appeals will be in Rochester today, hearing arguments on several cases. 3 of those are oral arguments. These hearings are part of the court's mission to travel across the state to ensure justice, access to that for all. These cases start at 9:30 this morning. Ted, it's raining out there.
It is raining 1/3 of an inch so far. We may get up as much as an inch of rain by the end of this event. Rain this morning and early afternoon, highs in the 15s.
All right, have a good day.
See you later.